In this video, I'm not only going to show you how to improve your photography using a 450-year-old painting technique, but on top of that, I'm going to show you how to come up with creative challenges and techniques inspired by classical paintings on your own. If you want to create a photograph or any kind of other artistic work based on a classical painting, for example, you first need to decide where you want to draw inspiration from. If you already have a favorite artist or an artist you're interested in, this is going to be very easy. If not, don't worry. There's a plethora of ways to get into art. A very obvious way is a quick Google search. And although this may give you very quick results, the results may be a bit generic too. So I really want to encourage you to get books from your local library or go to museums or art exhibitions. In that way, you can acquire a unique perspective on art. This will help you create work that's different from other photographers and artists. In this video, I'm going to use the work of Michelangelo Merisi da Caravaggio. Let's say you found an artist you want to draw inspiration from. The next step is to analyze their body of work. And I really want to encourage you to not only look at one painting, but as many as possible. In that way, you will be able to determine common traits amongst them on a more abstract level. This will later help you transfer what we've learned from the paintings onto your own work. For the sake of this video though, I'm only going to focus on one painting. This will make it a lot shorter and easier to follow. So let's get started. Here we have the painting I'm now going to analyze. And this is not going to be a comprehensive analysis up to any kind of scientific standard, but more a way of writing down what I'm interested in this painting or the work of the painter in general. To get started, I want to take a look at the title of the painting, The Conversion on the Way to Damascus, a scene from the Bible. This is obviously very common during the Renaissance. But in contrast to his contemporaries, Caravaggio doesn't depict a strong sense of godly intervention in this picture. In that way, he kind of wants to show us that he does not understand change of mind of St. Paul. So the first thing I want to write down, in maybe more of an abstract way, is that Caravaggio depicts common scenes from a different perspective. Let's keep going. The next thing I want to take a look at is the movement in the painting, because, taking a closer look, we can see that neither the horse nor Paul himself have really stopped moving. It's still in the process of falling very much in the moment. And although this is something we can see in the work of many different painters, it's still a crucial element of the emotion that is conveyed in this painting. And we can see that especially if we compare it to a picture by Rembrandt. Here, the nobleman pauses before going on a long journey. The next thing, and the actual 450-year-old technique I want to focus on, is the lighting in this picture. As we can see, Caravaggio only uses a singular source of warm light that's outside of the borders of the painting and can only be seen by St. Paul himself. By that, he creates a disconnect between the viewer and St. Paul. This technique, in combination with complete black shadows, is often called Tenebrism. And although you could take any one or all of those attributes that we just worked out as a starting point for your work, I'm going to take Caravaggio's use of light and dark as the starting point for the photograph in this video. So here we are. This is kind of my makeshift studio situation. I'm now going to try to take what I've learned by analyzing the painting and transferring that into a photograph. To light that photograph, I'm going to use this probably very famous IKEA lamp, because, as I've shown before, Caravaggio uses in his work mostly a singular source of warm light. So we're going to do the same. As background, I'm going to use this plain black cardboard. This will later make it easier to achieve the real black shadows that we've spoken about before. As you have seen, our subject is going to be this painting doll. I decided for that because I think it's still a bit reminiscent of the portrait work that we see in the work of Caravaggio, but still far enough away to see that the process I'm showing you today can be applied to any kind of work. Now, I'm going to take my photograph here with my digital camera, but you can very well use a film camera with a high contrast film like Kodak Tri-X, for example. But the digital camera will make the editing process a lot easier. Speaking about editing, here we are in Lumina, and now you can obviously use any editing software you like, but that's just what I like to use. What you can see on screen now is the photograph straight out of camera, and that's what I turned it into. Now, after showing you what I've done here in Lumina, I did put it into another image editing software to give it a bit more perspective. But let's get started. The first thing that's very obvious is that I put it into black and white, just because I never intended it to be in color. The next thing, also very obvious, is that we have a very high amount of contrast here, just to mimic again what we've seen in the paintings by Caravaggio. The third thing, a bit more subtle, I want to draw attention to is the dodge and burn. Here we have it without and then again with, and as you can see, I try to pronounce that cone of light a bit more than in the raw file. So let's go over to GIMP, just my image editing software of choice, and take this picture a bit further. The first thing I did is made it a bit smaller and added a lot of negative space. This obviously gives it a lot more perspective, and I think a completely different feel than having it in full screen. The second thing I did is elongate that sliver of light a bit, and the third thing I did is just touch up the doll a bit. After we found an artist that we are interested in, analyzed the work of that artist, applied techniques in our own work, that's our final image. Thanks for watching. Maybe let me know in the comments if I should do more of these videos of photography inspired by art, maybe about some other art direction like contemporary art or pop art, impressionism, something like that. That said, if you want to see more of my little shenanigans here about art and photography and crafts, maybe consider subscribing.